What's up guys, it's Z here, welcome back to Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck of the Day. Today we're doing an update on Sunavalon's, a deck that I've been waiting for the deck lead for such a long time. Ever since that Konami announced the new spell card, I was so excited to play the deck because this is one of my favorite Reigns decks, and I was playing it even before, and we did feature it in the channel, but I just felt that the deck had some very unique weaknesses in the form that you were relying on your opponent a little bit with a card, and now the Konami basically fixed the biggest issue of the deck, so I'm going to explain why this happened. So now, before we begin with the video, if you enjoyed, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our upcoming content, and now let's get to the deck profile. So starting off with the monsters, we have of course 3 copies of Sunset Genius Lucky. You have to max this out. This is basically your starter. Now this card on its own can actually do a lot of stuff. Before, the deck was a demi-combo deck that needed like 2 to 3 card combos in order to do something efficient, but now just using Sunset Genius Lucky can get you so much because Dorias has now a really good card to search turn 1, because before you were only searching the Shrine, which didn't really do that much, but now have a new card that's absolutely insane for the deck. So yeah, you need to max out on your starters. So with that logic, we also play 3 copies of Rescue Rabbit because this card gets you 2 Genius Lucky on the field, so it gets you another extra monster. Really good card. We also of course play Gamma just because whenever I play a card like Rescue Cat or Rescue Rabbit, I really want to play Gamma in that deck as well because it feels so neg when your opponent Ash Blossoms this card and you don't have anything else. So yeah, you need to protect this card because if it resolves, you're gonna have so much. 3 copies of Lunfire Blossom. This card can act as a starter or an extender because you do use it to summon another monster sometimes, which is not Genius Lucky, but if you have to go for Genius Lucky turn 1, then of course that's what you're doing. But sometimes you also summon one of the 3 copies of Sunset Twin, which is basically the wolf park of the deck. So if this card is summoned while you control a Sunavalon Link monster, you target a level 4 lower plan normal monster in your grave, you special summon it, you get back your Lucky. This is basically another monster you're going to be summoning with your Dorias as well, so you can get back another monster. All these cards work together really well, and it's a very spammy combo deck that you can do so much with it, and as long as you don't get Nibiru'd, you can play through a lot of hand traps sometime because the deck has a lot of extenders as well. So yeah, I really like this card, and I think it's much better than the other monster was an extender for the deck because it did rely on you playing Link 2s in the extra deck, which was not the best thing. So this card just does something on its own when you actually summon with Dorias. So this is why I think this card is much better. Now the deck unfortunately does need to play a couple bricks, and depending on how many bricks you are willing to play in your deck can actually increase the ceiling of your deck. I am not playing the most powerful version of the deck. If you play cards like the Carrot Weight Champion and another level 4 Rika monster, you can even get even more interruptions on the field, but I feel like I already play enough bricks for my liking, so I didn't really want to play many of them. So I do play 4 of them in the deck, which is 1 copy of Mardel. Now keep in mind, I do call these cards bricks, but they're not really that bricks because you do search them during the combo, so if you already have them, you can search another thing. But the thing is that these cards on their own don't really do anything, that's why I'm kind of calling them bricks. So this card just searches you any plant monster and you can summon it very easily. All of these cards I'm about to show you are very facilitatable because of Jasmine. Jasmine just makes this deck work. Without her, this deck would not be anything. It would just rely on your opponent attacking you and then using Dorias and Doriano more times. Thank God it doesn't have to do that because if it did, then it would not be a good deck for any kind of competitive format. So yeah, Mardel, really good card. We also play 1 copy of Arrow Mage Laurel. This card is here because not only does it special summon itself, but then you can actually use its effect to gain life points to trigger both Jasmines, so you can actually get 2 searches because Jasmine is not a hard once per turn. So when you gain life points, you get 2 searches, so this deck can actually, with 1 card, get so many cards out of it. And I do play 2 Rika monsters. We have the 1 copy of Snowdrop. This is the one that will tribute a monster to special summon another one, and the one you're going to be special summoning is the 1 copy of Mudan. This card searches you the trap card, which is basically another form of interruption, and then you can use Snowdrop's effect to change your levels to both level 8, so you can summon your Teardrop as well to have another interruption. Of course, there are other cards you can play. If you play the cards I mentioned before, you have to play the rank 4 Rika Xyz monster, and then by tributing it with the Snowdrop's effect, you summon your 3 Beast, which is another form of interruption. And like I explained before, there are other ways to play the deck that make it a little bit better considering you don't draw anything bad, but I just like having my chances a little bit lower of drawing bricks, so this is why I think that the deck doesn't necessarily need all of that in order to win. Now, in any deck that plays a lot of 1-card combos that can actually get them so easily, you need to play a lot of hand traps because this is how you either get your turns back after you get hand trapped yourself and you're unable to combo, or you stop your opponent from making a board that would make you unable to combo. So you play 3 copies of Ash Blossom, of course, pretty generic, 3 copies of Effect Veiler, 3 copies of Gamma with 1 copy of Driver. I really like this card just because of Rescue Rabbit. Like I mentioned, having cards like Rescue Rabbit and Rescue Cat in my decks make me a little bit paranoid just because I want them to resolve, because if they don't resolve, I feel like I've wasted so much. So this is why, and of course, Ash Blossom on a card like Rescue Rabbit and Rescue Cat feels so tempting to use, so this is why Gamma is such a good card. And I would not really use Gamma in any other deck that would not be able to activate going first as well. I would rather maybe play something like Nibiru in the main deck, but I feel like in this particular deck, Nibiru is much better suited for the side. For the spell cards, we have 3 copies of Sunvine's Sowing. So let me explain why this new card from Burst of Destiny made the deck work. So before, in order to activate Dorias' effect, which activates when you take damage, so you can get back your life points points and then get a monster from your extra deck, you had to rely on either your opponent hitting you, which was not very good for a competitive format because you had to pass a turn, so this was not the way to go. So people decided to play cards like Zephyros the Elite and Trick Clown in order to bypass that problem. This was fine, but the problem is that you had to hard draw these cards or use something like Paralyxid Force to try to search them, or Furious Burial to send them to the graveyard. This card right here is searchable through Dorias. So this is why this card makes the deck work. So basically what it does is that you special summon a Sunseed from your deck and then you take 1000 damage. So this card just makes the deck work because of the fact that it deals damage to you. So you get back those life points with Dorias and then you use Dorias' effect, get another monster from the extra deck. So with one card, you already have 3 cards and that's only the beginning of your combo because this card just facilitates so much more. The moment this deck gets rolling, it cannot be stopped. It gets so much advantage. So this is why I love this card. One copy of Sunvine Shrine. The reason you play only one, again, it's searchable with Dorias, and Dorias is not a once per turn effect, so the moment you link summon a second one, you can search this too, so you can get another special summon from the graveyard. And this card sticks on the field, so you don't really need to play more than one, you just keep using it every single turn. So it's a really good card. On activation, you discard a card, and then you can special summon your Genius Loki every single turn from the graveyard. Pretty good. 3 copies of Unexpected Die, giving you 3 more starters, and in case sometimes maybe your Rescue Rabbit gets asked and you don't have Gamma, then you can use this to summon Loki and keep comboing, so you can actually use this as an extender as well. 1 copy of 1-for-1, pretty much the same logic, just another starter and extender. And 1 copy of Call by the Grave because you need to stop hand traps as soon as possible, especially when you rely on Rescue Rabbit and Lonefire Blossom. For the traps, we have 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, running out the total number of hand traps to 12, which I think is a really good number. You can play even more if you want. You can scrape off numbers here and there from the deck to fit in more hand traps, but I think 12 are fine. We play 1 copy of Ricochet. The reason this card is really good is because it gives you the option of cracking down a monster your opponent has, because the effect to negate, it's okay because it doesn't really affect the monster when it's summoned. It prevents it from activating afterwards. So if it's a card, it's an ignition effect, then you don't really care that much. But when you tribute a plant, you get to take control of that monster. So this is why this card is really good, and you can search this with Unthreat combo. And we also play 1 copy of Sunavalon Bloom. You search this with your Link 4, your Doria Trantie, and of course this is another kind of interruption. On activation, going to negate all face-up cards your opponent currently controls. So it's a really good card as well. For the extra deck, we have 3 copies of Sunavalon Dorias. You need to play 3 just because this card you just spam it on, especially on turn 1, because you can search your Sowing first and then you can search your Shrine. This card is really good, and when you take damage, you can special summon a Sunvine from your extra deck, and the one you're going to be summoning first is the 1 copy of Sunvine Healer. And the reason being is because this card is going to give you 300 life points, and this is so important because of Jasmine. Jasmine helps you get all of those pluses, but in order to do that, you need to have more life points than your opponent, and this card helps you. This card gives the deck synergy with stuff that it was not supposed to have synergy, but I'm really glad that it does, just because, like I said before, without Jasmine, this deck would not be able to work at all, so I'm so happy that this card works the way it does. 2 copies of Thrasher. This card is the late game insurance. If your board gets broken, or at least most of it does, and your opponent actually manages to do something, then this card is the monster that you're going to be attacking with, because on summon, it's going to target a Sunavalon monster and gain attack points equal to its link rating times 800. Usually what you're going to be doing with this is summoning this under your link 4, so it can get to 4000 attack points, and it basically has the effect to steal the monsters that it destroys while putting them under Sunavalon link. So yeah, this card is the monster you're going to be attacking with. Sometimes you don't even need to use it because your original board that you're trying to go for actually has enough damage on its own, but at Fast Light 4, if it's broken, then you need to be able to summon something else in order to go for game. 2 copies of Daphne. This card here is basically the Pot of Avarice of the deck. It's the reason you don't need to play Pot of Avarice, because in a deck like this, if you go to a grind game, you do need effects like this in order to survive, because you do go through your extra deck so quickly in order to be able to go for the grind game, you need those cards back, and this basically does the same thing. And you can also use this because it has really good arrows for you can summon them during the middle, and then there's also an extra league combo you can do, which against some matchups, it's really useful. Not as useful as it used to be because of Master Rule 5, but still, you need to be able to do that because against certain matchups, it's an auto-win. 2 copies of Melias. This card is absolutely insane. It's a link 3 that just keeps bringing you back more monsters from the graveyard, and it has really good link markers for the extra link. This card was just made to extra link. 2 copies of Jasmine. You do go through this card twice during your combo, and because it's not a once per turn effect to search, then you can just get 2 searches, and it doesn't search Arrow Mage monsters, it searches plant monsters. So yeah, this card is absolutely incredible. You can just search your Snowdrop and your Mudan basically with this card, and then you can just get them both on the field. You get a search for the trap card, and then your Snowdrop makes your Mudan level 8, so you can go into a Teardrop, and then you can link both of those Jasmines away for a link 4, which is absolutely insane. And for the link 4s, we have 1 copy of Doria Trantie. This card is a Sunavalon monster, and on summon is going to search you your Sunavalon Bloom, giving you another interruption, and it's the one that makes your Thrasher actually really big while it's on the field. But we also play 1 copy of Benhalancer. This card is the one that you can summon when you're trying to link it away, because it has the effect you can banish 2 link monsters in the graveyard that total link equals 4, so you can bring it back, and it's another form of interruption because as a quick effect during the main phase, you target an effect monster your opponent controls, you're going to take damage equal to its attack, and then you return it to the hand. But the thing is, like I said, you don't really care about damage, because if you summon this with Dorias on the field, you're going to get back those life points you lost cost, and you're gonna summon another monster on the field. So all these plant monsters actually have surprising synergy with Sunavalons, which is actually something that I don't know if Konami did on purpose or if it just happened to be that way, but I'm just so glad that you can do that because those self-hurting effects actually benefit this deck so much. And the only Xyz monster I play is one copy of Teardrop. This is another disruption. You can basically tribute one monster your opponent controls. So yeah, you can play the rank 4 if you want, and also the 3-piece, but I think that in order to do that, like I said, you don't only have to play more bricks in the main deck, but you also have to cut cards from your extra deck in order to fit at least 2 more cards in your extra deck, so there's that too. I don't think it's necessary, but if you want to raise the ceiling of the deck even higher, then of course you can go. So yep, that's the deck, guys. If you're looking for combos, we also covered a lot of combos when Sowing was first announced, and we're not going to cover them again. We're just going to link the old videos we have in the description of the video. Pretty much nothing has changed. The combos are pretty much the same. So yeah, if you want to check those out and see exactly how good this deck is, then of course you can check them out. And if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our upcoming videos, and we'll see you next time.